Imagine settling down on a Saturday evening, eagerly anticipating an exciting night of UFC fights on your TV, but just as you're about to grab some popcorn and settle in, the unexpected happens. You hear Joe Rogan screaming at the top of his lungs, and just like that, the fight is over before it even starts. Quick knockouts catch us all off guard, don't they? Luckily, we can all go back and watch some highlights. So here are the fastest knockouts in UFC history. Welcome to the Combat Kings YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Jarano Rosenstru vs. Alan Crowder. Jarano Rosenstru is one of the scariest heavyweights on the planet. And when he first entered the UFC heavyweight Shark Tank, he was considered the next big thing. The Surinamese kickboxer started his UFC journey with a sensational knockout victory against Junior Albini, the man famous for wearing diaper-like shorts in the octagon. His second fight, which came against Alan Crowder in the summer of 2019, was even better. In his fight against Pretty Boy, Rosenstru showcased his striking prowess within seconds. As Crowder advanced, Rosenstru connected with a precise jab that sent his opponent crashing to the canvas. Then followed up with a couple of big punches to finish the job in only 9 seconds. That night, Rosenstru put the heavyweight division on notice, although he lost his way a bit in the fights that followed. Don Frye vs. Thomas Ramirez. Don Frye, a pioneer of MMA, might not be as well remembered by today's fans, but he was a true alpha of his generation, who produced tons of highlight reel moments and turned the tables a number of times despite the odds against him. One such moment was his fight against Thomas Ramirez in 1996. Ramirez, a fighter known for his knockout power, was backed by many to shut the legend's lights out, but ironically, he ended up tasting his own medicine. As soon as their fight started, Frye unleashed a devastating right hand on Ramirez's chin that put him out in an instant, forcing the referee to swiftly intervene and stop the fight. In addition to having one of the fastest knockouts in the UFC's history, Frye is also the owner of one of the fastest submissions in MMA history, against Mark Hall in only 20 seconds. Makan Amany vs. Andy Ogle. Makan Amany had a blistering start to his UFC career in 2015. He signed as a 10-2 featherweight prospect with high expectations, and the Finnish star certainly lived up to the hype. In his UFC debut, Amany faced Andy Ogle at UFC Sweden. As soon as the fight started, Amany wasted no time in sprinting across the cage and launching a thunderous flying knee that landed right on the button. Amany followed the knee strike up with an uppercut that caught Ogle on the chin as well, making him lose his balance and tumble into the cage. The UFC newcomer seized the opportunity with a few follow-up shots that forced the referee to intervene and stop the fight. Ogle protested after the official call, claiming that he wasn't severely hurt, although clearly he was on rubber legs. Leon Edwards vs. Seth Baksinski. Long before Leon Edwards rose to the heights of fame with his pound-for-pound, headshot dead moment, he was quietly making his way to the top of the UFC welterweight ranks, with his most notable moment coming against Seth Baksinski early in his career in the world's biggest fighting promotion. Despite the noticeable disparity in experience between Edwards and Baksinski, Rocky displayed remarkable composure when the two locked horns in 2015. While Baksinski aggressively advanced at the beginning of the bout, Edwards remained calm and seized his moment with pinpoint precision, delivering a sharp left-hand counter that sent Baksinski to the canvas seconds into the fight. With Baksinski down, Edwards wasted no time in following up his initial strike. He dropped to one knee and unleashed two more powerful left hands to Baksinski's face before getting back to his feet and walking away. The referee jumped in a split second later and waved the fight off. James Irvin vs. Houston Alexander. With 12 knockout victories and 17 wins, James Irvin was a heavy-hitting middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight who sent dozens to the shadow realm. But Houston Alexander unfortunately saw the worst of him when they met at a UFC fight night in 2008. Seconds into their fight, Irvin unleashed a devastating Superman punch on Alexander, who immediately dropped to the canvas like a sack of potatoes. Irvin wasted no time and followed up with two more powerful right hands to Alexander's face. The referee quickly intervened and stopped the fight in only 8 seconds. The Korean Zombie vs. Makan Amany. After a historic start to his UFC career in 2011, when he pulled off the famous twister submission against Leonard Garcia, the Korean Zombie increased his fan following with a spectacular knockout victory against Makan Amany. Fresh off his 5-round war against the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, Amany was oozing with confidence. So when his fight with Zombie started, Amany lunged forward with reckless abandon, showing zero respect for Jung's striking. The Canadian aggressively lunged in with a wild left hook, but unfortunately missed his target. Amany's reckless move left his chin exposed, allowing Jung to capitalize on the opportunity with a well-timed right-hand counter that ended the fight in an instant. That was all Sean Sung Jung needed to earn a $75,000 bonus. Yup, Dana White was feeling a little generous that night. Todd Duffy vs. Tim Hague. Heavyweight Todd Duffy entered the UFC with a lot of hype behind him. He was 5-0 as a professional fighter with 4 first-round finishes. So, when he made his debut against Tim Hague at UFC 102, all eyes were on the big man from Indiana. Duffy needed only 7 seconds to impress UFC brass and fans. Second into the fight, he touched Hague's chin with a massive right hook. Hague crashed to the canvas within a blink, as Duffy followed up with a barrage of punches on his fallen opponent until the referee stepped in and saved Hague from irreversible brain damage. Terrence McKenna vs. Matt Frevola. Terrence McKenna's UFC debut was chaotic. Invited to compete against Matt Frevola on an 8-day notice, Terrence McKenna made the most of his opportunity when he introduced himself to the world in only 7 seconds at UFC 263. In his preliminary card bout, McKenna left a strong first impression by delivering a flurry of punches that quickly sent his opponent, Matt Frevola, to the land of ghosts. Unfortunately, McKenna didn't leave the cage without suffering damage either, as he injured his leg during his celebration. What a bummer! Anthony Perosh vs. Ryan Jimmo. Speaking of sensational UFC debuts, Ryan Jimmo isn't far behind McKenna. Touted as the next big thing in the sport, Canada's Ryan Jimmo delivered a highlight reel knockout in his UFC debut in 2012. Jimmo was 16 and 1 as a professional when he signed with the world's best promotion. The Canadian, who had been a prominent competitor in the Maximum Fighting Championship, had an impressive 16-fight winning streak leading up to his UFC invitation. However, his typically methodical fighting style hadn't always won over fans. Nonetheless, in his UFC debut, he blew everyone, including Uncle Dana White, out of the water with a spectacular 7-second knockout. Jimmo's thrilling bout against Anthony Perosh took place during UFC 149. The fight began with a brief glove touch, after which Jimmo swiftly unleashed a powerful right hook to Perosh's ear, and the Australian veteran immediately crumpled to the canvas. Jimmo landed a thunderous punch to make sure that his opponent was out cold. The referee quickly came to Perosh's rescue and waved the fight off, to the absolute delight of the Canadian audience. George Masvidal vs. Ben Askren. That ultimately brings us to the fastest knockout in UFC history, courtesy of George Gamebred Masvidal. When Ben Askren joined the UFC welterweight fold in 2019, he came out guns blazing during press conferences, and in his media talks. He made a shaky but perfect start to his UFC career by dispatching Robbie Lawler with a bulldog choke before signing the dotted line to fight the brawler from the mean streets of Miami. Tempers were high pre-fight since Askren talked a lot of trash, going as far as claiming that he would dominate the UFC veteran. Their fight took place at UFC 239 in the summer of 2019. As soon as the fight started, Masvidal charged towards Askren, who attempted a takedown and ran into the most devastating knee strike in the history of MMA. The next thing we knew, Askren was out cold, stiff as a board. Despite Askren being fast asleep, Masvidal landed a couple of mean super necessary punches to Askren's face until the referee pushed him away. The fight was over in 5 seconds. The spectacular knockout gave Masvidal a stunning victory and solidified his status as a top contender in the welterweight division. The fight remains one of the most memorable moments in MMA history. So these are the fastest knockouts in UFC history. Which one is your favorite? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.